fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, whenever we last left off, we had Izuku Midoriya. He has lost both of his parents, using Akai energy to destroy them, and killing Cell in the process. Him speaking to the Grand Priest, and learning that there might be a way to bring them back. Now, Midoriya was not informed of this method, just only being informed that it is a possibility. Now then, with that being said, we also do have what is going on currently with everyone else. Momo and Mina. Now, Momo, she actually did want to help and support Deku. Deku is literally the strongest person she has ever met. And he has done so much for her. He's taken her on this adventure, taken her away from her home, a place where she was isolated and has never seen anything like she's ever seen before. Now, she lived on a quiet and dark rock, not even being able to ever see the thing called the moon. Now, with that being said, we do pick up roughly about a year later. Midoriya at the age of 25. And there is a lot of things going on, as the planets have been quite busy. Now, ever since the hero Izuku Midoriya destroyed Cell, a lot of places in space felt the massive power spike on Earth. In fact, even some of the Saiyans thought they felt something. And, well, the Saiyans have finally been able to successfully rebuild parts of their society. And they extend their hand out to Earth for a peace treaty. Now then, along with that, a few other planets did want to try and join in on this, separate from the Emperor's rule. Now, this would basically mean that they are creating free space. Space that is not under control of the Emperor, nor does it belong to anyone. Now, with that being said, Mina's planet also did want to join in on this. Her actually calling back to home, you could say. Basically using the transmitter, or asking Vados to give her father a call. Her father confused at the strange device, before a window does pop up. Now, Mina actually is going to talk with her father, and try and inform him about what is going on. The two having a talk of diplomacy. Now, Mina's older brother, the one who is going to take the throne, is actually sent ahead for this diplomatic mission. Now, along with that, we do currently have the King of Saiyans. He is actually deciding to give this diplomatic rule over to his daughter. She is quite familiar with the planet, so she will be in charge of negotiations. And basically she is informed to not do anything that could put the Saiyans in a bad light, since the reputation on that planet is quite bad. Now, she did understand this, as we do have Izuku Midoriya, the world-famous man, be introduced by somebody. Now, he is introduced by one of the heads of the major corporations who help fund the Earth Defense Force. As Midoriya actors step up to the podium. Now, Midoriya actors begin to look around. As we do have the Earth Defense Force, a lot of their soldiers are standing ready, with their hands folded behind their back at parade rest, waiting for any signs of movement or possible power fluctuations. Now, that would mean that negotiations did not go well, and that a possible war can break out at this very moment. Now, Izuku Midoriya. He is actually dressed in a nicely pressed suit, as we actually do have from his left the princess of the mysterious planet, Mina, her coming to walk up, and from Midoriya's right, the princess of the Saiyans. Now, Midoriya actually does turn to look at Momo, and he does actually smile a little bit, as whenever Mina actually does come up, Midoriya actually does wrap his arm around her and give her a big hug, before actually doing the same to Momo. Everyone quite confused, as Midoriya does begin speaking. Hello everyone. Now, everyone simply just listens in, as Midoriya does begin talking. This is quite a tremendous occasion. Now, I am aware that the Saiyans, they have been seen in a bad light. Now, the crowd does actually begin to go up in a bit of an uproar. And the Galactic Patrol, they actually do think they might have to intervene and get some of the people out of here. People screaming and shouting about what happened. Midoriya going on to talk. Going on to state that he is here to clear some things up. That Saiyan from years ago, he was a part of a villainous faction. In fact, him actually giving the speaker, or the podium, to Momo, as she actually does thank Midoriya. Going on to state that on her planet she is a princess, and the Saiyan race, they are a proud race of warriors. However, for generations a war has been going on. And, thanks to the help of Midoriya's family, they were able to actually stop the war, and bring their planet back to peace. They have dealt with all the traitors and people who go around and do things like the Saiyan did to their planet. Her deeply apologizing for all of this problems. Now, with that being said, we also do have Mina's brother, who is actually standing there with his arms behind his back, right next to his younger sister. These two having a bit of conversations. Now, after that does happen, Midoriya actually does watch Momo, her hand the podium off to Mina, as she actually does begin to talk. Hello everyone, my name is Mina Ashido, and on my planet, things are very, I guess the right word would be dull in your language. Now, her listing off a lot of things about her planet, and talking about how she felt like an outcast before Midoriya actually did help discover their world. Now, Mina does continue talking, explaining about how the Earth is a very, very unfamiliar planet, and she actually was able to warm up to it as she begins the expression is called a fish to water. Now, she does continue talking, her sounding a little bit silly, but getting her point somewhat across, before her more serious older brother actually does take the podium, introducing himself and going on to state that he is very happy about the current situation. However, he does believe that his planet should still remain hidden. Mina actually going to talk to her older brother, putting her hand on his shoulder and actually explaining to him that that's a bad idea. Him continuing on with his statement, explaining that their planet has remained hidden from the Emperor for eons, and the current state they have been in, isolation, and that he does not believe that this will be a good idea. Now, with that, the king of the Saiyans, Momo's father, actually does walk up. Now, Mina's older brother actually does turn to look at this man, who is missing one of his arms, and does look to have a scarred face. Him bringing his hand up as multiple people actually do go on guard. Mina's older brother putting his own hand up, looking at him, going on to state that they want nothing to do with their bloody and, well, primitive race. Now, this is whenever Mina actually does intervene, her walking forwards and grabbing her older brother by the wrist, before turning his hand around behind his back. Now, she actually does inform him that that is not what he is here to do. He was here to negotiate peace, not war. And Momo's father actually does go on talking about him being a little bit of an arrogant brat, talking about how he has never stepped foot off of his planet before. So, he does not know how to even properly negotiate, does he? Now, Momo actually does step forwards, her actually getting her father's way as she does actually turn Super Saiyan. Now, everyone does actually watch this girl spark up into a golden aura, and the Earth Defense Force, they actually catch onto her readings. Some of their technology or power readings are very inconsistent, and some of their devices do actually blow. Now, this actually does cause a bit of an uproar, and Midoriya does step forward once again, bringing his hand up and informing Momo to power down. Now, she does so, as her father is quite taken aback, before actually dropping down onto his knee. Now, he actually does praise his daughter for reaching that form, informing her that she has far surpassed his expectations. Now, with that being said, Midoriya actually does take the podium once again, apologizing for everything that is currently happening, before they actually do try and figure all this out. Now, after basically calling Mina's planet with the angelic device, they actually do talk to the king, him basically finding out what is happening. Mina's brother cannot do diplomacy for shit, so it is left to her. And Momo actually does take over in her father's place. Now, with that, Midoriya does actually announce that currently their planet, the planet Sadala of the Saiyans, and Mina's planet, pronouncing her planet's name, let's say, I cannot think of one for the moment, that all these planets are now being joined into an alliance, along with the Galactic Patrolmen and their own current list of planets, and many other individuals that have stayed apart from conflict as far as they can. Now, that basically does mean that many things are going to currently happen. And technology is going to be thrown around to every different species all at once. Now, along with that, they actually do take questions. Now, people are asking Midoriya about Cell, and Midoriya actually does give a bit of an explanation. He trained as hard as he could and put his body through hell in order to take down that madman. Even then, his parents had an instrumental part in taking him down. He does not believe he would have succeeded without them. Now, more people also do being asked questions, asking Midori about that Super Saiyan transformation, and exactly what would that mean. Witnesses reported have seen Midoriya use that power before, asking Izuku Midoriya flat out if he is a Saiyan. And Midoriya actually does power up, him going to Super Saiyan Grade 1, before actually informing all of them that yes, he is a Saiyan. However, he was not born a Saiyan. He will not get into the specifics or explain how he did it, but he found a way to turn into an alien. Now, many people already have heard rumors of the Dragon Balls, so that actually does put that theory, or at least the idea of those magical wish-granting orbs, into a bit more of the real-world concept, currently now. Since, hey, aliens exist, so magical wish-granting orbs, well, why not? Now, another person actually does ask, exactly how do they plan to maintain this alliance? Before Midoriya actually does quite simply reveal exactly how. As he actually does grab onto Momo's hand, and grab onto Mina's hand. Before they simply just raise it, and Midoriya does explain. He is already planning to take both their hands in marriage, and as long as their marriage would stand, this alliance will stand strong. Now, after that, Midoriya uses instant transmission, and all of them do arrive back at Midoriya's house. Now, the Earth Defense Force is currently trying to handle all of their equipment, and somewhat, well, fix it. After Midoriya's Super Saiyan 2 incident, a lot of it began to short circuit immediately. Now, let us also cut back in time. Roughly around 9 months. So this would be 3 months after Cell was defeated. Or almost 4 months, technically. Anyways. Now, Midoriya, he is currently outside and training. And Mina is actually training with him. Midoriya with actually his hands still bound behind his back, as he is actually throwing around the force in his legs. Now, Mina is actually able to block him and actually counterattack, being able to land a few lucky blows on Midoriya, as he actually does bring up his hands, or, well, not his hands, his legs to try and block, before actually being able to kick Mina down into the ground. Him quickly powering down, or out of Super Saiyan. Now, he throws his hands to the ground, or his body, before trying to pull his hands underneath him, sliding his hands underneath his butt, and over or underneath his feet, being able to get his hands out in front of him. Now, Mina actually does understand how big of a difficulty this is going to be now. Midoriya can somewhat use his arms. So, it seems like he does understand how those are beginning to work. If he uses Ki less, eventually they will degrade. Ki is what does sustain them after all. Now, with that being said, these two actually do decide to take a break. Mina snapping, as the bonds holding Midoriya's arms do actually snap. and disappear. Then both walking in and getting water. Now, Midoriya is standing there as he does drink a large cup of it. And Mina herself actually does comment on how much of a hot day it is. Midoriya actually somewhat agreeing, saying that he wishes that it wasn't this hot out here. But she does have to remember, they do live out by a countryside. Even then, well, the area they do live in is notorious for having hot summers and cold winters. So beggars cannot be choosers. Now, Mina actually does begin to talk to Midoriya. And she does somewhat think about this. She is thinking that Midoriya could be a very suitable candidate for a husband. In her culture, she should have already been married. And, technically, have bear a child. But, she has not. She has gone further astray than anyone of her species has ever gone. And this is no different. Her actually asking Midoriya about his relationship with Momo. Midoriya kind of confused. Oh, well, I don't know. That's kind of a hard one. I mean, technically we've known each other since before we were 10, I think. The Saiyan... Geez, we knew each other back as far as Janemba. Then there was that 2 years we spent together in the time chamber. Yeah, it was a whole lot. I'm aware. In fact, it was actually kind of a big shock to me. Yeah, you and Momo? I never thought I would see that. Why? She just doesn't seem the type. The type? To be a mom. She's that badass warrior where, well, her being motherly and a nurturer? Yeah. Sorry, but you'd have to pay me to see that. Okay, so tell me then. What do you see her as? That's a hard question. No. These two do continue their conversation. Until eventually Momo does actually walk in. And take notice to Mina. Her actually commenting that she has put Wakashi to sleep. And that he does seem to be awfully grouchy today. Asks them how they're doing on their training. Midoriya saying that they're actually doing pretty good. In fact, Mina is actually making a whole lot more progress. And someone actually being to keep up. So, now, Momo actually does lay it flat out. Staring down at Mina and actually asking her if she ever does plan to actually talk about it. Talk about what? Well, that look on your face. I've seen it before. Oh, what are you talking about? Now, Momo would flat out just say, she has feelings for Midoriya. Midoriya swiftly spitting out a very large amount of cold water into the sink. Now, as soon as he does actually do that, he's kind of confused. Asking these two exactly what are they talking about. Now, Mina does get very defensive, stating that she has no such feelings, powering up. Her power level at 50 trillion. Where Momo herself actually has power up. Her power level 150 trillion. stating that that is bullshit. Now, Mina's aura actually does get a bit bigger, her releasing more energy. Momo doing the same as the two have a bit of a screaming match at each other. Now, Midoriya actually does hear Wakashi cry. Now, Midoriya actually does go to the next room to escape this conversation, trying to process what he has heard. Now, the very moment Midoriya does actually step in, he does walk over to his son's crib and check up on him. As soon as he actually does begin to think about what's going on, Vados suddenly appears behind him, her stating something that does actually frighten Midoriya. So, you finally have noticed. Jesus Christ! Vados, how many times have I told you not to do that? Oh, my apologies. I was just watching over young Wakashi. Ah, okay. That's kind of creepy. Well, what do you humans call it? A guardian angel? I thought I was being that. Yeah, that's more of a figurative thing, not literally. Hmm? Oh, well, okay. I see if my presence is not required here. Her going to walk away, or float away. Her stating that she is actually quite hungry, asking Midoriya if he does actually keep any food in the fridge right now, or if he does actually need to go out and buy food. Now, Midoriya does tell her that she might need to check on the fridges outside. If it's not number 7, try number 10, or look in the deep freezers. Her actually kind of curious. Now, with how much a Saiyan does eat, they basically have refrigerators full of meat, vegetables, milk, and a bunch of perishable foods, along with deep freezers filled to the brim with meats. Now, you may as well be walking into a nuclear, well, fallout shelter, with how much food is stacked in that one room. Now, Vados is actually states something before Midoriya, or to Midoriya before she does leave. You are aware that if both of them do feel the same way towards you, which one do you choose? What? What are you talking about? I've already chosen. No. No, you have not. What? Yes, you have done half of that, but you have not given your soul. Uh, okay. What are you talking about? Well, in order to give yourself to somebody, you have to give your body and soul. Technically, that is how that works. And it does not appear that you have fulfilled the requirements. Besides, Mina Ashida, a magical warrior from space, another princess actually. Do you really believe that simply just denying her her own feelings, that she will make any significant progress? In fact, she has seen you as her only friend. And outside of this entire room, there's a world full of people. If even 1 second she was bored, she could have left. However, she did not. She found you interesting, fascinating, a subject worth studying, and sticking around through all the hardships. I have seen that girl give up on almost everything she has tried. But even then, she looks to you for inspiration. You put yourself through agonizing hell and call it training, or even a warm-up sometimes. And she has pushed herself. In fact, if I do have to say so, she herself would reach the limit of a god if it meant keeping up with you. Now, Midoriya does somewhat think about that in a different way, as he actually does power up into Super Saiyan, going to hold his son. Now, Wahashi actually does have his eyes widen, and he does seem happy to see this form. Now, Midoriya is actually a bit more happy, as his mind is currently racing with what Vado said. Mina sees him as a source of inspiration. She sees him as something to strive to be. So, what exactly would that mean? That's kind of confusing. Midoriya going to put his son back to bed, and finding that it's actually quiet. Oh shit, it's quiet. Him actually turning around and going through the door. As we actually do have Mina and Momo standing right outside, waiting for Midoriya. As soon as he does actually walk out, they begin to ask him a question. Exactly what does he think of both of them? Now, this is a very hard question to answer, and Midoriya does simply just give his honest feelings. They're both very amazing people. Momo is, well, a people person. She tries to make sure that she can help anyone that she can. In fact, she's a princess, not a soldier. Yet, she is one of the strongest saints in existence. Now, Momo actually does have her face turn a bit red. Kind of embarrassed before actually, at least, gritting her teeth a little bit. Somewhat annoyed at that response. Midoriya actually turning to Mina, and stating that she's actually very interesting too. In fact, all these dull things that he's seen before, or at least in his daily life, that he's seen as dull, she is able to find new ways to make interesting. Especially that one time that she turned the stapler he had in his room, well, into a living thing. Basically, let's say a bird. He found that to be pretty interesting. And he actually was quite surprised about a lot of things that she could do. He has been, well, sort of interested in her, yes, but he wasn't really sure what to say about all of it. And then him and Momo did begin to get a bit more close. So he kind of didn't really see that as a possibility anymore. Now, these two, they are quite surprised. And they actually do say that they are going to have a competition. Now, their competition would constantly fail, before Vados does eventually have to help figure out a solution. That being whenever Melissa's shield pops up one day, let's say around the 7th month mark, so 5 months ago currently, and actually does explain a peace treaty she has tried designing. Now, the Saiyans, they do want to come and help. However, Earthlings are still quite afraid. Yes, they do have Izuku Midoriya, but one Saiyan took 3 people to take down, and a majority of our forces couldn't even do that. Now, then there's the fact that Cell, he did a lot of things. They are still recovering from all that. And they're currently mourning their loved ones. Now, along with that, there is another reason why she is currently here. Her actually asking these 3 a question. How would they feel about hope? This confusing all of them. Hope? She's back to the future. Now, Momo, she's actually quite curious about this, asking exactly what is she talking about. Well, yes, she's back in the future. But there's also another problem. Now, she actually does set up a laptop, plugging in a USB and typing some things in, stating that she did go over quite a bit more of the data on this file. It's all heavily encrypted. Only things that she would be able to read and decode. In fact, her going on a scientific rant about having to create an algorithm to try and descramble it, and then yada yada yada, her own personal code, her own personal things, yada yada yada. Basically, quite literally a puzzle you could not figure out if you were anybody else. Now, as soon as she does actually hit enter, we do have a board pop up, along with an older Melissa Shields, as she does look to be around at least not over 10 to 5 years older than her. Yes. Hello. So, I am assuming that this video recording, if you are currently watching it, something has happened. And I believe that I can at least be of some assistance. What is she doing? Now, she actually does turn around and write some names down. Izuku Midoriya, the purple one, the golden hair one, and then her own, stating that this is the list of people that do make up Hope's genetic code. Her then going on a board and beginning to write different things and draw different things. Her basically explaining that she is making multiple different videos and codes currently. If they are watching this, then that means that their universe that they currently do reside in does not work off of multiversal theory. And in case their universe is messed up or screwed, this is what they are going to need to do. Now, she's basically handing over all the information it took years to accumulate. Genetic research that was put into developing hope, time travel, and massive technologies. Basically, jumping the world ahead, possibly 100 to 200 years. Now, she does explain Hope's genetic structure. Hope is around what should be 40 to 35% Midoriya. So, technically, she would be a clone daughter. Now, she then does go on explaining. Then another percent of that is actually Mina's DNA. Going on to show that Mina's DNA does comprise of about 30 to 25%, stating that the DNA that makes up Hope's anatomy is also Mina Ashido's. At the current time, Mina Ashido, or Mina, we believe she may be human. However, further looking into her genetic coding, there are no signs of quirks and or possible quirkless aspects. In fact, it is quite possible that she is an alien. However, the threat that came against us, it would be no surprise. Then, the Golden One, saying that the golden-haired woman who died is around 20 to about 25. Now, if my math is correct, 35 to 40, 35 to 20, or 30 to 25, that would be about 75 currently. Or let's say Midoriya is 40% of her DNA. Mina is around, let's say, 30, Momo would make up about 20% of it, and then there is Melissa, stating that her human DNA is currently the 10% housing. Now, a whole bunch of scientific crap goes on, and the present Melissa's shield does explain that with this research they can actually bring hope into the timeline here. This surprising all of them. Okay, so you want us to create her here? Yes. Listen, it's fairly complicated, but even we do not know the aspects of our own universe. Her timeline may still be messed up. In fact, we need to at least take these precautions. Now, it does take a bit of convincing, but yeah. It is able to be figured out. And a science project is made. Now, this project Melissa's shield is doing outside of the custody of the Human Defense Force. Her own personal lab, somewhere away from human eyes or prying eyes. Now, let's say her own personal research facility. Now, with that being said, I do believe that I can lead this part off of here, since there is a lot going on. And I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.